I gave an elderly man my phone number at the grocery store. What followed changed both our lives forever. I never thought scribbling my number on a receipt would be the beginning of the most important relationship of my career, but that's exactly what happened last winter at Wilson's Grocery on the corner of Maple and 5th. I was picking up ingredients for dinner when I noticed an elderly man struggling with the self-checkout machine. He must have been in his 80s, pant-thin white hair, weathered hands that trembled slightly as he tried to scan his items. The machine kept blaring unexpected item and bagging area while a line formed behind him. "Can I help you with that?" I offered, stepping over. The relief on his face was immediate. "These machines hate me," he said with a self-deprecating smile. In my day, there were actual people at registers as I helped him scan his modest groceries, barn to single chicken breast, 1 potato, a small carton of milk, and a newspaper. Parent, I noticed he was buying the exact same dinner I'd seen him purchase the previous week. "And the week before that, do you cook for yourself?" I asked. "Every night for the past 3 years," he replied. Since Margaret passed, never was much good at it, but I am too stubborn to get those meal delivery things. Something about his dignity and independence touched me. Before I could overthink it, I grabbed his receipt, wrote my name and number on it, and handed it to him. "I am Emma. I teach cooking classes at the community college," I explained. "If you ever want some simple recipes or cooking tips, just text me, no pressure at all." He looked surprised, but carefully folded the receipt into his wallet. "Harold," he said, extending his hand. Harold Winters. I honestly didn't expect to hear from him, but 3 days later my phone pinged with a message. "Emma, this is Harold from the grocery store. Is your offer still good? I burned another chicken breast." That text began what would become a weekly tradition. Every Sunday I'd spend an hour at Harold's modest home, teaching him a simple recipe he could replicate throughout the week. His kitchen was immaculate, but outdated part appliances from the 1980s that still worked perfectly because they don't make things like they used to. I learned that Harold had been a history professor for 42 years. His wife Margaret had been the cook in the family, and after she died, he'd subsisted mainly on burned meat and canned vegetables. He had one daughter who lived across the country and called once a week. What started as cooking lessons evolved into something more meaningful. Harold began sharing stories about his life pern teaching during the civil rights movement, traveling with Margaret during summers off the books he'd written that few people had read. One Sunday, he showed me a manuscript he'd been working on for years, a historical analysis of how community structures changed in post-war America. It was brilliant, but would likely never be published. I recorded our cooking sessions and his stories, initially just for fun, but when my media production class needed a semester project, I asked Harold if I could create a series called Kindu with Professor Winters. History lessons from the kitchen. The videos were an unexpected hit on campus. Then somehow they found their way to a streaming platform executive who saw something special in this 83-year-old man who connected historical events to the evolution of American cuisine today. The Professor's Kitchen is streaming in 12 countries. Harold has a book deal for his manuscript. My simple cooking lessons have evolved into a production company that specializes in educational content that bridges generational content. Harold still lives in his modest home, though it now has updated appliances, which he complains about regularly. He insists on cooking for me once a month, pern dishes he's perfected from our lessons. His daughter has moved back to town and often joins us. Yesterday, Harold showed me a small notebook he keeps by his bed. Inside was the original grocery store receipt with my number on it. "Best thing that ever happened to me at a self-checkout," he said with a wink. Sometimes the most meaningful connections begin with the smallest gestures of kindness, and sometimes helping someone scan their groceries can change the trajectory of multiple lives. I still shop at Wilson's Grocery every week, and now I always use the self-checkout paired just in case someone else needs a hand.